Hello again. This is Dan with another Bible topic. Kind of keeping on a theme here. This one is they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, and it comes from the book of Daniel. And most of us, if you're reading and you're a normal reader, you just kind of gloss over this. But the late Chuck Missler said he did the same thing many times until one day he really looked closely at the wording. And I want to point out something first, is that God is a God of design and consistency. In the New Testament, the disciple that was the one that was described as Jesus loved this disciple, that was John. And he's the one that wrote the most prophetic book in the New Testament, the book of Revelation. Now the prophet in the Old Testament that would be comparable, the beloved prophet who wrote about the end of this age, was the prophet Daniel. So God is consistent. Now Nebuchadnezzar had a dream that troubled him. He called his wise men, the Chaldeans and Magi, and demanded that they interpret the dream. They said, well, tell us the dream first. We can't do that. You have to tell us first and then we'll interpret it. Well, he gave them a further incentive because he believed they were stalling, and they probably were. He said, now, if you don't tell me the dream, I'll kill you. I'll kill your family, probably the horse you rode in on, and make your home a dunghill. Daniel was in the Magi job description, so he said, wait, hold on. There's a God that can interpret things for us, so let us get right back to you, O king. So Daniel prays and comes back to the king. Excuse me. Daniel 2, verse 24, Daniel is describing the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream of an image with a head of gold. And this laid out future history. First would be his kingdom, the head of gold. That was Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom. Next, a kingdom represented by silver, which would be an inferior kingdom to his. And then a kingdom of bronze, which became the Greek Empire. Then a kingdom represented by iron, which we know as the Roman Empire. Finally, the toes were iron mixed with miry clay, which represents a revived Roman Empire. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the western portion of that empire. The eastern portion in Constantinople lasted until the 1400s. Now, Romans 2:42 is the verse that we're most concerned with today. As you saw iron mixed with ceramic or miry clay, they will mingle with the seed of men, but they will not adhere to one another, just as iron does not mix with clay. Well, who are they? Well, I asked you first. Whoever they are not of the seed of men. This appears to point to Jesus' statement that it will be like the days of Noah, when genetic manipulation and corruption were happening and they corrupted the human gene pool. Now, before you scoff at that, remember that there have been 300 or so prophecies in print in the Greek Septuagint Old Testament almost 200 years before Christ, and they all came true. And this was provably not late dated. Come to Jesus now so you will miss this time period and be raptured. I've got the links that explain this a lot more in detail. Please check them out, and may God bless you.